Rav Sheshes, Kuf Chesem and Aleph, 108a. It says, Rav Sheshes have a yaseh b'tanisa kol mala yom de Pesach. Rav Sheshes was fasting all Erev Pesach. So, why was he fasting all Erev Pesach? I would like to say that it's a tainus for firstborn. The Gemara doesn't even have that option. At least not probably. Gemara says, maybe he learned it. Our Mishnah says that Erev Pesach, before it gets dark, Samach Lemincha, towards the afternoon, you're not supposed to eat. And we had two options. It doesn't mean the late afternoon, Mincha Ketana. It doesn't mean the early afternoon, the Mincha Gedela. If it's a late afternoon, then the reason was so that you should have an appetite for the matzah. If it's the early afternoon, then it's because you shouldn't get distracted from bringing the Korban Pesach. The Rav Sheshes is not in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. But nevertheless, maybe Rav Sheshes held that the Pshat in the Mishnah was Samach L'Mincha Gedela, the early afternoon. Mishum Pischel, and it has to do with the Korban Pesach. Dilma Mimshach Vasalam Noim Levet Pischel. Maybe the reason why you're not supposed to eat is because you may get distracted, drawn after the food, and you won't bring the Korban Pesach. No, it's no Korban Pesach, of course. But it means that was the original halacha, and he's continuing it today. So what about the morning? He holds it to the Eved. The Korban Pesach is kosher if it was shechted in the morning as well. Really, the whole day is kosher for the Korban Pesach. It says in the pasuk Bein Harbayim, v'shachtu I say Bein Harbayim. The savar Bein Harbayim, Bein Erev de Esma Erev de Idna. Harbayim sounds like a plural. So it's between the afternoons, between which afternoons? Well, actually, we translate Bein Harbayim as the afternoon, but he would translate between the sun settings, between the sun settings, between the Erev, the Herev, Shemesh, between the sun settings. Now, when did the sun set? Well, it set yesterday afternoon, and it continued to set all night until the morning. So Bein Harbayim would mean between this morning and this evening. So that means that he has a full day for the Korban Pesach. He has a full day for the Korban Pesach. We don't want you to get distracted, to be not focused on the Korban Pesach. You might not end up bringing the Korban Pesach. So therefore, Rav Sheshes didn't eat the whole day. When it says Amri, they said Loi. It's not the Pshat. It's a whole story you came up with a bunch of shittas that you threw together to come up with this. And the Mishnah was only talking about Mincha Gedela, and you even added into it the morning. That's not the case. The whole story was Shani Rav Sheshes Distanis Saba. Rav Sheshes was very picky. The time if he ate something in the morning, he wouldn't have been able to eat in the afternoon, in the evening. He didn't eat the whole day because that would spoil his appetite. Okay. Yeah, it is interesting that the Gemara didn't even suggest that it's a tainus for firstborn. I don't know when that came into our custom. How early is that? Is it tainus for firstborn? Do we have that in the Mishnayos? Who started it? Is it from the Gainim? I don't know. Okay. New piece of Gemara. The Mishnah said that even a poor person should not eat in the afternoon until he's going to recline. It means by the meal, by the Seder, he's going to recline. Itmar was stated by Amiroim. Matzah tzarech haseba, maror ein tzarech haseba. Okay, these two are very clear. For the matzah, you have to recline when you eat. We recline to the left. Maror, you don't recline. Reclining was a sign of freedom. So for the matzah, you recline, and the maror not. What about the yayin, for the wine? So Itmar Mishmei Rav Nachman. It was taught in the name of Rav Nachman. One teaching went tzarech haseba, that you have to recline. Itmar Mishmei Rav Nachman ain't tzarech haseba, and another teaching said that you don't have to recline. So what did they do? They argued it out. Some did this and some did that. But the Gemara says no. It wasn't really an argument. Both of those comments. Look, you have 4 cups of wine. We'll figure it out. Which one's yes, which one's no. It's not really an argument. This comment was talking about the first 2 cups, and that comment was talking about the second 2 cups. So there's a division between the 2 cups, first 2 and the last 2. However, that doesn't resolve the whole issue, because some said that the first 2 cups you recline, and the second 2 you don't. Some said the first 2 cups you don't recline, and the second 2 you do. So those that said it this way, they said like this. The first 2 cups, those are the cups that require reclining. That's the beginning of the redemption. We're going out of Egypt. We're celebrating Yetzias Mitzrayim. You have to recline when you drink the first 2 cups. Trei kasi basroi. The second 2 cups, loy by a seba. That doesn't require a seba. We've already finished the Haggadah. We already said the bracha Gal Yisrael at the end of Magid. So it's not necessary to continue. Now you just eat regular. That show that you had, that symbolism that you had, was coming out of Egypt, and you're already out. Some said it the other way. They said, Adarabba, the second 2 cups, that's the time that they're going free. You see, in the Seder, you do certain parts of it that show that we were slaves, certain parts that show that we're free. The beginning of it would be that we were slaves. And the second part is we're free. We said Avad Mayinu. That means that we were slaves. So it's really, when are we really free? That's only by the second cups. And that's when we have to leave. So, because we have these 2 versions, so we require a seba by both. You have to recline by both. Yeah, I think there's more to this, but I didn't get a chance to look in the commentaries. Places has an interesting question. He says, what happens if you didn't recline? Do you have to drink the cups again? Because this was all, we have to recline by both because of the doubt. We don't know which one. And what about between the 3rd cup and the 4th cup, where you're not allowed to drink? We learned yesterday. You're not allowed to drink, so what are you supposed to do? You can't drink another cup. You're supposed to drink a cup because you weren't yet to seva. There's a problem. Okay, I think today we say that nowadays this is not Allah Hashem, but there is an opinion that nowadays people don't recline anyway, so it doesn't look like a lack of freedom today. There's such an opinion. So maybe if you forgot, you don't have to drink it again. I'm not sure. I have to check in Shulchan Aruch. I'm sorry.
It's interesting. They didn't say anything about eating the carbon Pesach.
Oh, did they recline when they ate the carbon Pesach? I guess so, right? No? I have nothing that says no. So,
It would make sense that they reclined because that was just the Derek Akila at the time of.
right. So, in the original Manishtana that said this night we eat everything roasted, did it have in that also Haseba, that we recline for everything? I'm not sure. I think the Haseba replaced it. I'm not sure. If I would have to see that. I have to look more carefully to comb through this, see what it says. Okay. I think Neil, you'll follow up on this probably. The first two cups have to do with Yitzias and Mitzrayim. The second two cups have to do with the future redemption. The question is, how do we celebrate the future redemption in preparation? Are we reclining already? I don't know. There's something going on over here about this. The Gemara said, first two cups, we're free. Those are the main ones. Those are the ones that it's Yitzias Mitzrayim. The future redemption hasn't come yet. You don't recline for that. And the second interpretation says, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's how you prepare. Maybe I don't know. Okay. Now the Gemara goes on. It says, Praktan, someone that's lying either on his back. Most commentators say it means on his back. Others say it means on his front. Leishmei Seba. That's not considered reclining. It's possible to eat on your back, but on your front, it's going to be very complicated to take a drink if you're lying on your stomach with a straw. That you can do. Okay, Haseba Simin Leishmei Seba. Leaning to the right is not considered a Seba, simply because you need your right hand to eat or to hold the cup. But not only that, there's also another problem of maybe the food will go down the windpipe instead of the food pipe, instead of the esophagus. And that will become a danger. It's a very interesting pshat over here. The commentaries say that Shema Yaktim Kana Leveshet is not referring to leaning to the right. Some commentaries say it means leaning to the right. Others say it means when someone is reclining on his back. He's leaning on his back, he's laying on his back. That's not considered reclining. That's another problem. Besides, it's not reclining, it's also, he could choke. See in the Rashi, Apraktam Kai, he's talking about laying on his back. So Rashi learns. Rashbam quotes Rashi. It says, I don't like the pshat. It says it doesn't fit with the order of the Gemara. The Gemara should have said this back by one line up when it said leaning on his back. It says you're not leaning on your back doesn't work. Leaning to the right doesn't work. And besides, it's also could cause a person to choke. That it's a continuation of leaning to the right. Isha Eitzel Baila Laibaya Seba. A woman by her husband does not need to recline. The Shielte says that they don't need to recline because they never recline. That's not their way of freedom, right? It's not what they do on vacation. So it's not necessary for them to recline by the Seder because they never do. But however, the other commentaries say that she can't really recline because she's still subjected to her husband to work and to do things in the kitchen or whatever. So she's not really free. If it's an important woman that doesn't have anything over her, that she's totally free, then Tricha Seba, or maybe the Shiltis Pshat, she usually reclines. So therefore she would need to recline as well. A child in front of his father has to recline. Why does he have to recline? If the Pshat is that he has to serve his father, and the woman has to serve her husband, it should be the same reason. The answer is because the father probably allows him to recline. He wants him to. So he doesn't have to ask for permission. It's assumed that permission is granted. Ibaylo. Where's the question? Talmud Eitzel Rabbi Mai. What about a student? Student in front of the teacher. Tashima. So come and listen. Abaya, maybe it's Amar Abaya. Or Amar Abaya. Kiavina Beimar, when we were in the house of Rabbah, Zaginan Abirke Dadadi. We would lean on each other's laps, I guess. We would lean on each other. Kiasin Labe Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef took over the yeshiva after Rabbah passed away. Rabbah was there 22 years or something. Then Rabbi Yosef took over. Amrlan, when Rabbi Yosef took over, or when we came to Rabbi Yosef, he told us, you don't need to recline. The fear of your teacher is like the fear of heaven. Rashbam quotes that you have to fear, like you fear God, you have to fear your teacher. And therefore, you don't recline in such a situation. It looks... Maybe it's not considered... It's not... it wouldn't be the way to recline in front of the master. So if you're in front of the teacher, you don't recline. In other words, the picture of what's considered freedom won't apply to the students or to the... No, they probably didn't. You're with your teacher. You didn't recline. You never recline. You recline in front of the teacher. Question is, on Pesach, should you fake it? Should you do it differently because it's Pesach? So originally they did, and then he said, no, you don't have to do that. I don't know actually in Persia if they ate reclining, but okay.
A person is always before Hashem, and that's what it's talking about, having fear of Hashem.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to understand. If you have fear of Hashem, you're reclining anyway. Your fear of your teacher is like the fear of Hashem, and that makes you not recline. It's kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, it must mean not that there was a lack of fear of Hashem when you're not there. It just means that there's a way of behaving in front of a teacher. And the way of behaving in front of the teacher is different than when he's not there. So in front of the teacher, you don't recline. Yeah, I guess something like that. Okay. The Gemara says, 1 second. You have a clear brisa that says a student reclines even in front of his master. The Gemara says, yeah, you have a student, but that's not a student, a yeshiva student. That's a student that's apprentice by a carpenter. He's the student, and yeah, he can recline in front of his master, the carpenter. But it's not talking about someone that's in front of a yeshiva student in front of his rabbi. Ibaylu shamish mai, the Gemara says, what about the shamish? Should the shamish, the waiter, should he recline? Tashma, Dam Rabbi Shua ben Levi, shamish she'achal kazayas matzah, k'shemeisav yatza. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, if the shamish ate a kazayas matzah while he's reclining, he was yaitza. Well, you see from that, meisav in, like meisav lai, that if he doesn't recline, he wasn't yaitza. Shmamina Bayaseba, Shmamina. We see that even the Shamash has to recline. Now that's interesting. It doesn't seem to fit unless the Shamash is not really a servant. Shamash is just one of the people that's serving, I guess. Okay, Vam Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, Nashim chayavas barba kaises halalu. Women have to drink the 4 cups. 4 cups of wine. Shafein hayabaysanes, because they were also involved in the miracle. Rashi and Rashbam tell us, what does it mean they were involved in the miracle? They were involved in the redemption. If not for the women, if we wouldn't have been redeemed. In the merit of the righteous women that were in that generation, that's how we were redeemed. The same thing we find by the Megillah and the same thing we find by Chanukah. That's what Rashi and Rashbam tell us. Tosfos says he doesn't like the pshat. Doesn't like the pshat. He says, they were also in the miracle. Sounds like they weren't the main miracle. Sounds like they're secondary. It says it's not the pshat that we were redeemed because of the women. The pshat is that the women were also in the miracle, that the decree was on the women as well. Whatever decree.
Was he married or he was not married?
Yeah, let's figure this out. He was married to Rashi's daughters, which makes it more complicated.
Oh boy.
Now, yeah, how's this going to work? There's a problem. See, the issue here is that it's a mitzvah, it's a positive command that's time-bound. And any positive command that's time-bound, women are exempt from. The question is, so why do the women have to drink the 4 cups? And we answered because they were involved in the miracle. What does it mean involved in the miracle? We have 2 interpretations. Either they were also in trouble and in distress, and then they were saved, or they were actually the cause of us being saved. Now, we didn't discuss matzah. Do they have to eat matzah? And the answer to that is yes, they have to eat matzah, because we had another Gemara that says anyone that's obligated, that's prohibited from eating chametz, is obligated to eat matzah. Now, the prohibition to eat chametz is a negative command. So that would include women in the obligation to eat matzah. Question is, why do we need that? They were involved in the miracle. Why do I need that? Anyone that has the prohibition to eat chametz has obligation to eat matzah. I have it resolved from this Gemara, from the Afin Hayubaysanes. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Tosfos in other places asked this question. For some reason, it's not here. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Arba kaises halal tzarich sheyebehem kedei mezigas kais yafa. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that these 4 cups of wine need to have the amount that would be for the diluting a kais yafa. Kais yafa is the cup for benching. They need to have the amount to be able to dilute the cup for benching. Now, a cup of benching, every cup always requires a revius. And we're assuming, actually, I don't know what we're assuming. There's a huge machlekes here, what we're assuming. But whatever the case is, what we're going to come out with is that the way they used to dilute it was 1 part wine, 3 parts water. So it was a quarter concentrated wine, and then it was diluted by 3 parts. So it needs to have this ratio, this amount. Now, Shasan Chai, let's say, if he drank the wine undiluted, he drank it just the concentrate. Yeah, we don't know if exactly if it was a concentrate. It could be. The historians and some rabbis tell us that the wine wasn't really concentrate. You can't really concentrate wine. It was regular wine, but the yeast that was fermenting it would cause you to would cause stomach stomach sickness. So they would dilute it to be able to drink it, not because it was thick concentrate. Yeah, that's what some say. However, other commentators say no, their wine was much thicker and it needed to be diluted. Yeah, and maybe it was stronger also. It was stronger. I'm not sure how they can get it more than like 17% or something, whatever. Right? I don't think it's possible to get the wine to have that alcohol content. Right, it has to do with shit. Maybe the grapes were different. Okay.
We've learned, or we're going to learn, about how the Romans used to concentrate wine into bars and then would add water to it. So it can be concentrated.
Yeah. There is a Gemara like that. Rabbi Yirmiyah says that it's talking about if you can use wine for schach. He says that they would make it into like fig cakes. That's how you would get it to stay up.
I don't understand it either for the same reason, but that's what it says.
Okay, I hear. Shasam Chai. What happens if he drank it raw, undiluted? So yatsa. Shasam vasachas yatsa. Okay, there's two pshatim here. What does it mean, shasam vasachas? One pshat is that he put all 4 cups into 1 cup. He had a large goblet. He poured 4 revius into it and he drank it down. Another pshat is no, he had a regular size kiddush cup and he drank 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like quick shots. So it says yatsa. Hishkami and Levanavel of Nevesa yatsa. If he gave it to his sons and household to drink, children and household, he's yatsa. Okay, now we have to go back to explain the statement. We were just like rushing through the comments of this comment of Shmuel. Now the Gemara is going to explain each one. So let's start off where he says Shasan Chai Yatsa. When he drank it raw, when he drank it undiluted, it was Yatsa Amarava Yidei Yayin Yatsa. You were Yatsa Simchas Yamtiv, but Yidei Cheres La Yatsa, but you weren't Yatsa Yidei Cheres. That's not. Rashbam says, what's the Decheres? Rashi says, Einzu mitzvah shleima. You didn't do the complete mitzvah. You didn't do it perfectly. Okay. Shasam bevasachas. Let's say you drink them all in one go. Now we have 2 pshatim here. Vasachas, Rashi says that you put it all into 1 cup. The Rashbam says that you drink it one after the other. Rav Amar Yidei Yayin Yatsa. You were Yaitza Simchas Yamtiv. However, Yidei Arba Kaisis La Yatsa. But you didn't fulfill the 4 cups. The 4 cups need to be divided. Each one needs to be an independent, with its own bracha. It can't just be drunk, one after the other. I'm sorry, consumed one after the other. Yidei Arba Kaisis La Yatsa. That's what Rav says. Now, some take out the word Rav, and then this would be a continuation of Rava. Okay. Hishkami and Levanavel of Nevesa Yatsa. What's going on over there? If you gave it to your family. So, Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, V'hu Dashti Ruba de Kasa. What's he doing? He's giving it to his family to drink. So, did he drink the wine or not? So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says that you'd be yaitza only if you drank roiv kais. Now, it's not so clear what the pshat is over here. It could be that he's actually not drinking Rav Kais. And Vuhu de Ishti Ruba de Kasa means that him together with his family drank Rav Kais. In other words, sometimes you don't need to drink the whole thing on your own. You can get other people to join with you to drink it. But here, that's not what it sounds like. Here, it sounds like the pshat, simple pshat. He drank Rav Kais, and he let his family members take a sip afterwards. That's what it sounds like. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. These 4 cups need to have a revius. But the problem that we're going to bring out with this is that here we say that you need a revius, which is revius halug, and before we said kedei mezigas kos yafa, which that is when it's diluted. When it's diluted, it's a revius as well. That we want it to be a revius as well. But the problem is we're using a different shear, and we're going to assume that we're using a different name for the measurement. We assume it's a different size. Whether it's undiluted or whether it's diluted, it needs to be a revius. Whether it's new or old wine, it doesn't matter. Rabbi Yehuda says, 1 second. He says, that it needs to have a taste and a color of wine. Nevertheless, we learned kedei revius. You need to have a revius. And you said that you need to have a kos yafa, or kedei mezigas kos yafa. It sounds like it's a different measurement. That's a simple pshat over here. The Gemara answers, it's really the same measurement. My kedei mezigas kos yafa. What does it mean, mezigas kos yafa? To dilute it to the size of a cup of benching. It says the kama l'chol chad v'chad davel l'kula revius. What we mean is that each one needs to have that. If you take out the girsa, the davel l'kula revius, yeah, Rashbam takes it out. There's another pshat over here. The other pshat goes like this, that we're thinking that you only need a quarter of a revius, because that's the amount that you need to dilute. And the Gemara is answering that no, all together, all the quarters go together, and then you have a full revius. And then each cup really means that once it's diluted, you have a revius. So anyway, there's different ways of reading this Gemara. So, okay, Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda says you need to have the taste and the color of wine. Amar Rava, my time with Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda that you need to have the color? Do not look at the wine. Don't desire the wine when it is red. What we're seeing is the expression that it's using, and then its description of wine is that it's red. That means that it needs to have the color of wine. Yeah. It's a poetic way of saying don't desire wine. So it's saying don't desire wine when it is red. For whatever reason it said that, but whatever the case is, we see that wine is red. Tanur Rabbanan, stood in the Brisa. Hakol chayavim barba cases halalo. Everyone is obligated in the 4 cups. Echad anashim, vechad nashim, vechad tinaitis. Men, women, and children. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, v'chimati elas yesh l'tinaitis b'yayin. What benefit do you have by serving the kids wine? They don't want the wine. Rashi says they don't need to do the mitzvah of wine. They're exempt from the mitzvah. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about when they're higia l'chinuch? I don't know. Probably not higia l'chinuch, because the Rashbam says they're pater for mitzvahs. Why are you giving them wine? It's an interesting Gemara. What were we thinking? We're talking about children that are under chinuch. Anyway, it says Ela Machalkan Lan Kloyis Ve'Geisen Ber Pesach Leishanu the Yishalu. What you do is you give them toasted nuts, toasted grain and nuts on Erev Pesach so that they shouldn't fall asleep. Today that would be chocolate, but in those days that was nuts. Amru Alav al Rabbi Akiva. They said regarding Rabbi Akiva, Shahaya Mechalek Kloyis Ve'Geisen Kineks Ber Pesach Kadesh Leishenu. Rabbi Akiva would give these toasted grains and nuts to the children of Pesach so they don't fall asleep. And then they'll be able to ask the Manishtana. We'll see later exactly if that's what it means. But they'll be able to ask the questions. Tanya Rabbi Lezer Aimer, Chaytfin Matzis Beleli Pesachim B'Shvil Tinaikas Shlei Yeshena. Says they would grab the matzah so that the children don't fall asleep. There's a bunch of pshatim in this. What does it mean they would grab the matzah? One pshat is they would take away the plate. The food would go on the table. Everyone would get all excited. Then they would remove the plate. They would remove the food. They'd say, "What's going on? We didn't get a chance to eat yet." And that's how they would take it away. It's like you put the pizza down or something, and then it takes it off. It's a bad example, but so the children are asking. That's the pshat when you take away the plate. Masalak akara, you push it to the side. The children nowadays don't even realize what you're doing. You push it up. Officially, what it was is you would take away the whole table, and you would say, "1 second, this is not right. We didn't even have our meal." Okay, that's one pshat. Some say you don't want to let them eat too much. So you would take the matzah away from them so that they don't overeat, because children, when they eat too much, they fall asleep. Everyone falls asleep. But when it's early night, they have a heavy meal. So you take it away, they shouldn't eat too much. Okay. Another pshat is that they would eat quickly. So they would get through the Seder. Chaytfin is they would do it quickly so they get to so the children don't fall asleep. Tanya Amra Laval Rabbi Akiva Miyamav Laigi Eis Lamed Beis HaMedrash Chutz Mi'av Pesachim V'Erev Yom Kippurim V'Erev Pesach V'Shol Tinakesh Kadesh Le'Yashena V'Erev Yom Kippurim Kadesh Yachilu Es B'Neim. It says about Rabbi Akiva that he never stood up from learning, only twice a year. That's when he said, "Okay, yeshiva's closed." One was Erev Pesach, and one was Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Pesach was so that he should be able to do the Seder with the children. They shouldn't fall asleep right away. And Erev Yom Kippur is so that he should be able to feed the family. Okay, let's leave it over here.